virtual classes, and I'm very happy that you're able to do your work continuously. I mean, you're very systematic in doing your work. Though we are not able to call all the students, some of the students we are able to do it, and we are able to understand that you are on par with the virtual classes. I just want to tell you one thing, children. Since we are into electronic gadgets, definitely we'll be having strain for our eyes. So what you are supposed to do is continuously do not watch any video. Instead, for first 20 minutes, like we have a 20-20-20 rule as told by our counselor. So 20 minutes you watch the video. Next 20 seconds, your eyes must definitely see any greenery so that it just cools your retina pupil, and then for next 20 seconds just starts blinking your eyes. So what happens is your body gets rejuvenated, right? And our principal sir also has posted a video regarding the depression in students. Definitely, because you people are the flying bees or butterflies here in the school. You used to just go around, run around in the school grounds, in the corridors. All those are now into your houses. So now it's high time. Definitely we know we have to sit at home, but don't be like that. Make yourself energetic, do some productive work, play indoor and outdoor games, and try to keep your mind active, right? So we have been starting with our lesson. Now we have come to the last part of our lesson, the first chapter, and I have two friends with me who are going to help us to recap the S and P block elements. So we'll be welcoming Febin and Kirti to explain, to give a small summary about S and P block elements. Once they finish it, I'll be starting with D block elements. So you all are ready, children? Shall we start our recap of S and P block?
Hi friends, I am Febin Francis. I am going to say a small recap for first chapter, periodic table and electronic configuration. In this chapter, we studied that how to find the period, group and block of an element by subshell electronic configuration. The subshell to which the last electron gets in to fill the block of the element. In the case of period, we want to write the highest shell number of the element. Is in some elements the highest shell number comes before the last subshell. The number of electrons that present in the last subshell will be the group of the element, and this is considered only for S block elements. Properties of S block elements are more metallic character, less electronegativity, less ionization. Compounds are mostly ions. Loss of electrons in chemical reactions, oxidizers and hydroxides are basic nature. Now Kirti is going to tell you more about this chapter.
Hi all, I am Kirti from 10B. I am here with the recap of our last chemistry class. Last class we discussed on P block elements. P block is the mixture of many elements. We can see metals, non-metals, metalloids, and these are in solid, liquid and gaseous states. P block consists of 6 groups. It starts from the 13th group and ends in the 18th group. The 18th group consists of noble gases and the 17th group consists of halogens. Noble gases do not take part in any chemical reactions because their subshells are completely filled. So we call them as zero group elements. And we also discussed on the properties of P block elements. P block elements shows high ionization energy when compared with S block elements. It is due to their smaller size. The noble gases shows the highest ionization energy because of their completely filled p orbital. The p block elements also show high electronegativity. The highest electronegative element, fluorine, is also found in p block. The 17th group, the halogen, shows more electronegativity. And we also discussed on how to find the group number, block and period. To find the group number, we should add 12 to the number of electrons present in the p subshell. For example, boron with atomic number 5. Its electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p1. So the p subshell consists of 1 electron. So when we add 12 to this one, we get 13. So boron belongs to the 13th group. To find the block, the last electron of an element, if it enters to the p subshell, we can say that that elements belong to p subshell. And to find the period, it is the highest shell number in an electronic configuration. For example, boron 1s2, 2s2 and 2p1. Here the highest shell number is 2. So boron belongs to period number 2. Thank you.
Shall we move to the class for today? You all are ready with me, children? Well, you have S block, P block, D block and F block. So this S block and P block together, they are called as representative elements. Now this D block, we have P block elements starting from group 3 to group 12. There is around 10 groups come under D block elements. So those D block elements are present in the middle of the periodic table, that is between S block and P block, and they are also called as transition elements. Transition elements. They are giving out something. There is a transition taking place in these elements. Such elements are mostly metals. So D block elements are always metals. Right. So position I told you, it is placed in the middle of the periodic table. It starts from group 3 to group 12. So 10 groups are present. How do we find the block of any element? Yes, the subshell to which the last electron enters, that will be the block of the element. Right. If it enters in S block, S subshell, it is an S block. So in this case, the last electron will be entering our D subshell. Because we were discussing that 3D and 4s, the energy level, there is a small change. So electron will first enter into 4s and then into 3D. So the last electron will be entering my D subshell. So definitely when it enters the D subshell, we call that block as a D block element. Okay. And how we are finding out the period? For S block and P block or for any block element, the highest shell number will be my period. If it is having 3 shells, it belongs to 3rd period. If it is having 4 shells, it belongs to my 4th period. And D block elements starts from the 4th period. Because I can see here 3D and 4s. Since there is a 4s subshell, 4th energy level present, I can say my D block element starts from my 4th period. Now how to find out the group? For S block elements, the number of electrons present in the S subshell was giving me the group of the S block element. And for P block element, we learnt the number of electrons in the P subshell plus 12 added to it. Right. So how do we do it for D block elements? When you are doing for D block elements, we will sum up, we will add the electrons present in both D and S. I repeat again, to find out the group of a D block element, we will count the number of electrons present in the D subshell and S subshell. My S subshell is my outermost subshell and D is my penultimate shell. What is ultimate? Ultimate means the end. What is penultimate? Which is just behind, which is just before the end. So this is my outermost shell, this is my penultimate shell. So the number of electrons which is present in my outermost shell and my penultimate shell together will give me the group of the element. So when you see scandium, it belongs to my 3rd group. This is my 4th, this is my 5th, 6th, 7th until 12. So if I am going to add here 3D 1 and 4 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3. So what happens? There will be 3 electrons, that is here and belongs to my 3rd group. And when I say here, it is 2 plus 2, 4 and titanium belongs to my 4th fourth group. In case of vanadium, it is 3 plus 2, 5. Vanadium belongs to my fifth group. In chromium, 4 plus 2, 6. Chromium belongs to my sixth group. In case of manganese, it is 5 plus 2, 7. It belongs to my seventh group. Right. So here, you just need to remember the elements also. D block elements we haven't studied. It starts from scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese. After manganese, it is now 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Manganese. Right. After manganese, 26 is iron, cobalt, nickel, copper and zinc. Right. Scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese. You have iron, cobalt, nickel, copper and then zinc. Now when you see in the D block elements, that is the 12th group. 12th group will be 3D10 4s2 and next it will be 4D10 5s2, then it will be 5D10 6s2. And when you see here, what happens is that all these three, that is when you see the 12th group elements in the D block, all these are completely filled, which means they have a noble gas configuration. When we say octet, nothing but the subshells are completely filled. That gives me an octet configuration. So while writing the D block elements, always remember, according to the increasing energy level when you are writing the configuration, our electron will first enter into my outermost subshell 4s and then into my penultimate subshell 3d, because 3d is having a higher energy than 4s. But when you are writing, you can write either 3d 4s or 4s 3d. Both are correct. So there is nothing wrong if you write in the other ways. Okay. Now we need to study some characteristic features of D block elements. What do you mean by characteristic features? Means properties. Just like we are studying for S and D block elements, we will also study for D block elements. I told you most of the D block elements are metals. You can see copper, chromium, zinc, all these are metals actually, titanium, right? And then if you see the configuration, they follow the same outer shell configuration, that is 3D 4s. The next element which is just below this will have 4D 5s. That is, if it is 3D1 4s2, this will be 4D1 5s2. And which is just below this will be 5D1 6s2. So this outer shell configuration is followed for all the D block elements which is just below them. Right? That is the most important characteristic feature of D block elements. Then next comes the color compounds. Most of the D block elements, they form the colored compounds. Why? Because they have transition metal ions. What do you mean by transition metal ions? The ions which can exhibit different oxidation state and which can easily participate in the chemical reaction. They have the transition metal ions. Example, say I have copper sulfate, potassium permanganate. I have my chromium ions, Cr2 plus, or it can be Cr3 plus, right? I have manganese dioxide. Now all these are colored compounds. Now I'll show you the color of the compounds. Now you can see here. One by one I'll show you, children. See, this is my manganese oxide. You can see it is black in color. Can you see the color, children? It is black in color. Okay, because of the manganese transition metal that is present. This is the ferrous sulfate, which is yellowish green color, right? Because of the ferrous ion. This is copper sulfate, blue in color, because of copper 2 plus ion. Can you see the color, children? This is potassium permanganate, which is slight pinkish purple in color, again because of the manganese ion. and this is cobalt nitrate, reddish pink in color because of the cobalt transition metal. Now what happens here? Now most of the transition metal ions, because of the participation of the D subshell and the S subshell in the chemical reaction, they form the colored compounds. Not only they form colored compounds, but also they exhibit different oxidation state. When I say oxidation state, we know how to find out the oxidation state. Right children? We know when any metal or when any element loses the electrons, it will have a positive oxidation state. Am I right? Padma Priya, are you there? Yes. Since I am very new to this set of 10th standard children, hardly I know very few names, okay? So don't mind that if I am going to call the same names again, children. Okay? So oxidation state means when an element loses electrons, it will have a positive oxidation state. Right? Losing electrons will have a positive oxidation state. When it gains electrons, it will have a negative oxidation state. This is the basics that we have learned about oxidation state. Now what happens here is transition elements form different oxidation state, that is variable oxidation state. How that is possible? Let's take an example. FeCl2. What is this? Ferrous chloride, right? What happens in FeCl2 is, how do I calculate the oxidation state here? I know when I do crisscross, my Fe should have 2 plus. That is, Fe should have 2 plus and chloride should have 1 minus. Fe is losing 2 electrons, right? And chloride gains 1 electron. 1 electron. For 1 Fe, we need 2 Cl2, right? So 2 chlorine ions will combine with 1 Fe. That is what is FeCl2. Now what happens here with FeCl3? The same ion, it forms FeCl2 where Fe oxidation state is +2, but when it becomes FeCl3, the oxidation state of ion becomes Fe3 plus. Chlorine is the same, -1, but Fe becomes Fe3 plus by losing 3 electrons. Now in such cases, how do we write the electronic configuration? Now you should listen very carefully. When such questions are asked to write the oxidation state of metal ions, how should we write? First write the normal configuration. That is, iron we know it has atomic number 26. So I will write 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d6 or 3d6, 4s2. So 2 plus 2, 4, 4 plus 6, 10, 10 plus 2, 12, 12 plus 6, 18, 18 plus 2, 20, 20 plus 6, 26. That is here the atomic number of iron. So this is what iron metal. Now in case of FeCl2, the iron has an oxidation state of 2 plus. Please children listen very carefully. This is a definite board question. You will not have the same compound, but you may get different combinations. So listen very carefully. Iron, when it is in FeCl2, it bears +2 oxidation state, which means iron is losing 2 electrons. So if it is losing 2 electrons, from where it should lose? We know the electrons first entered my S subshell. So the electrons will come out from my S subshell. That is my outermost subshell. So the 2 electrons is lost here. So my configuration will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6 and 3d6. Right? Once 2 electrons is lost from 26, it has become 24. 2 plus 2, 4, plus 6, 10, plus 2, 12, 12 plus 6, 18, 18 plus 6, 24. So the electrons will be taken out from the S subshell first, then only from the D subshell. Now we will see the configuration for Fe3+. Fe3+ means again, what happens? It is from here 26, it has become 23. Now what happens? From where it should go? It has to go only from the D subshell. So my configuration will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6. 2 electrons are already lost here. So one more electron has to be lost. That is 3d5. You can do either from this configuration or take the original ion configuration. From there 3 electrons has to be lost. So 2 electrons from S subshell and 1 electron from my D subshell. This is a very important question which comes frequently in our board. So definitely you will have to practice writing the configuration for the metal ions. Is that clear, children? Which is most important. Okay. So I would say transition elements are metals. They exhibit various oxidation state. Why they exhibit various oxidation state? The reason is that not only S subshell take part in the chemical reaction, also the D subshell take part in the chemical reaction. My D subshell has got 10 electrons. So when 10 electrons are taking part in the chemical reaction, definitely an element will have different oxidation state. You are able to understand, children, if only S subshell is taking part, maximum 1 or 2 electrons will be lost. So either the element should have +1 or +2 oxidation state. But when I take D subshell, 10 electrons are there. So when more number of electrons are taking part in the chemical reaction, the number of oxidation state of an element also will be different. So we can say transition elements are metal. They exhibit different oxidation state. They form colored compounds due to the participation of transition metal ions. Also, they behave as catalysts. I think you can give me example where transition metal is used as catalyst. Right, in Haber's process, if you can see, if you can remember, sponge iron was used as a catalyst in Haber's process. Most of the elements like manganese is used, copper is used as a catalyst. So these transition metals are good catalysts. What is a catalyst? Yes, catalysts are those which speeds up the reaction. Not only speeds up, it changes the rate of reaction. So these are the important characteristic features of D block elements. Now we'll be doing one more problem on variable oxidation state with manganese. After that we will go to F block elements. So children, we have learned till now the properties of D block elements. In that we also learned that D block elements can show different oxidation state. What is the reason behind that? Yes, Anna? Yes, you are right. It is just because the D subshell also take part in the chemical reactions. So when the electrons that are present in the D subshell, when they take part in the chemical reaction, we say the D block elements can show variable oxidation state. Now we are going to solve two problems with manganese compounds showing different oxidation state. Right? And I'll be giving you two more problems in the homework in the PowerPoint, which you can do it in your notebook. Okay? So shall we go, children? The first question is MnCl2. Now we are going to see the oxidation state of manganese here. After finding out the oxidation state, we are also going to write the subshell electronic configuration of manganese. So how should we write it? Now manganese, we don't know the oxidation state, so we will put it as X, right? X plus, now we know the chlorine oxidation state is -1. So X plus -1 into, how many chlorine atoms are here? 2 chlorine atoms. So we put -1 into 2 is equal to what? 0. Because we know when you count the oxidation state of all the elements or atoms in a compound, the total it should be 0. So So we put x plus minus 1 into 2 is equal to 0. So here it will be x minus 1 into 2 will be minus 2 equal to 0. So x will have plus 2 oxidation state. X will have plus 2 oxidation state. So which is having plus 2 oxidation state? It is manganese. So manganese is nothing but Mn2 plus. Right. Now I have to write the subshell configuration for manganese with plus 2 oxidation state. So first, let me write the configuration for manganese alone, separately, without any oxidation state. So we know manganese is having an atomic number 25. So how will I write? 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2 and 3d5. Am I right? Since it's a d block element, we know the energy level of 4s is less than that of 3d. So first electrons will get filled in 4s, then only in 3d. So now when I count all the electrons here in the subshell, it has come to 25. Now what is our question? Our question is manganese with plus 2 oxidation state. So now I have to write the configuration with plus 2 oxidation state. So Mn2 plus. So if manganese has to lose 2 electrons, from where it will lose? Either it should lose from 4s or 3d. So tell me from where it will lose, children? Yes, it should lose from 4s because 4s is the outermost shell. It is the 4th energy level. So the electrons will be lost from 4s subshell. So when how many electrons? Plus 2. So 2 electrons. So I will write 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6. These 2 electrons goes. So it becomes 3d5. So this will be the configuration for manganese 2 plus. You are able to follow, children? This is how we are supposed to write the configuration after the atom loses the electron. Now we will see one more question. Now manganese dioxide MnO2. Now what happens here? Again I don't know the oxidation state of manganese. So I put X plus, but we know for oxygen it is -2 the oxidation state. So X plus -2 into how many oxygen atoms are there? 2 oxygen atoms. So -2 into 2 equals 0. So it will be X -4 equal to 0. X will be equal to +4, which means manganese having +4 oxidation state. You are able to get me, children? So now I have to write the configuration for Mn+4. So here we know for manganese this is the configuration already. So for manganese +4, manganese has to lose 4 electrons. So from where it will lose? 2 electrons from 4s subshell and 2 more electrons from 3d. So 3d5, after losing 2 electrons it should become 3d3. So shall we write the configuration? Yes. 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 3d3. So this should be the configuration. 2 electrons from 3d5 and 2 electrons from 4s2. So this is how we have to solve the given question. Clear, children? So be thorough in doing this variable oxidation state. This is a definite question on the board, exam point of view. You will be getting different questions from the same pattern. Okay. Now we'll see about F block elements. Yes, now we are going to see about F block elements. Now you can see here F block elements in the periodic table. They have taken a separate 2 rows. 2 defined rows are there for the F block elements. Now we have been studying about S block elements, P block elements, D block elements. Now in all these block elements, we know when the electron enters the S subshell, it is an S block element. When it enters the p subshell, it is a p block element. When it enters D, it's a D block. So similarly, when the electron enters the F subshell, we call that as an F block element. As we say, penultimate for D block elements. For F block, we call it as anti-penultimate. What do you mean by anti-penultimate? Two subshells before the last subshell. That is, two subshells before the last subshell. So F subshell comes two subshells before the last. But now for this year, we don't write any configuration for F block elements. So you need not worry about it. Just remember, electron enters the anti-penultimate F subshell. Now we have two important periods given separately for F block elements. They are 6th period and the 7th period. 6th period elements are called as lanthanoids and 7th period they are called as actinoids. Right after lanthanum, it is the inner transition elements. As we say, S and P block together they are called as representative elements. D block elements are called as transition elements. F block elements are called as inner transition, which means they are kept inside the transition elements. They start after lanthanum immediately, but since these elements do not occupy the main periodic table, they come just below the periodic table, two important rows. Now F block elements also possess some properties similar to that of D block. Like they have variable oxidation state, they are used as catalysts in petroleum industries. Now the other two important properties are they are used as radioactive or artificial elements. Not used as, they are actually radioactive and artificial. You know what is artificial? Artificial means it is not natural, it is man-made. So most of these F block elements are man-made elements. Fuels, they are used as fuels in nuclear reactors. Physics, you will be studying about nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. Fission means breaking, fusion means joining. So here in nuclear fission, nuclear reactor, we use uranium, most important fuel in the nuclear fission process. So these four are the important properties of F block elements. With this, our chapter ends, children. Right? The chapter is now over. We have almost covered the periodic elements, the properties of S, P, D and F. We also learned about electronic configuration, how to solve a question with the different oxidation states. Now we are going to do few exercises from the text and definitely I'll be giving you homework. Homework means the same question similarly which is repeated in the previous board questions, which will help you to answer and then assess yourself like how far you can understand. Now if any child finds difficult, if you find difficult in solving the questions, please ask me personally. I can definitely clarify your doubts. Okay. Now are you all ready with me? Now you can take your chemistry file and you can copy the question as well when I am doing it on the board so that we both do it together. Now I want everyone to take your chemistry file. See these questions, this is the method, right? Because while you are answering the board questions, it is not the same pattern how you used to do in your 8th and 9th standard. The pattern is entirely different, like the way we have to answer the questions. So once we solve different questions only, we will be able to know how should we approach to a question, because most of the questions are higher order questions. I will say like problem solving or critical thinking. If you know the concept, very clearly, definitely any question given in that concept, you will be able to answer. And I know all our children are very smart enough to answer the questions. So shall we move, children? Now the first question is, I'll read out. Based on the hints given, find out the atomic number and write down the subshell electronic configuration of elements. Write the question, you can see in the front now. Yes. So what is given in the question is, A is the element. It's not the original symbol of the element. It is in subshell electronic configuration. Now, if you get such a question, what is the first step I need to do? Please listen very carefully. Now, the hint given us, it belongs to the third period. So, when it belongs to the third period, we know how many till what, where we need to write 1s will come, 2s, 2p will come, 3s, and we don't know whether 3p will come or not, right? 3p, 3d will come or not, because third energy level is there, because it belongs to the third period. So, I will write 1s, 2s, 2p, 3s. Now, it is told that it belongs to group number 17. When it comes to 17, you should always remember S block, first and second group. P block stands from 13th group to 18th group. B block stands from 3rd group to 12th group. This you should always remember when you are solving this question. So now, my hint given is 17th group. So definitely the given element is it's a P block element. When it is a P block element, how do we find out which group? In a P block element, we find the group by adding 12 to the number of electrons in the P subshell. So here I have written only till 3s. Now I should write 3p also. Because when I add the electrons present in the P subshell plus 12, then only I will be getting 17. Right. Now what should I do? 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2. Now, if it has to come to 17, 12 plus some number will make 17. Am I right, children? Now, what electrons or how many electrons should come to P subshell so that it becomes 17? 12 plus 5. So, it is 3p5. Now, when you add all the electrons, 2 plus 2, 4, plus 6, 10, plus 2, 12, plus 5, 17. So, it belongs to the 17th group and is the third period. So, when you add everything, A is having an atomic number 17. Am I right? It's a 17 and this is my subshell electronic configuration. Right, children? The second question now you can do it as a homework. You understood how to do this question? Okay. Now the next question is, when the last electron of an atom was filled in 3D subshell, the subshell electronic configuration was 3d8. So what is given here? The last electron, it enters my 3D subshell and the configuration was 3d8. Right, write the complete subshell electronic configuration. So I will write 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6. Now 4s I will write 4s2 and 3d is having 8 electrons. That is what is given in the question. Now find out the atomic number. How should I find out the atomic number? I will count the electrons in my subshell. 2 plus 2, 4, plus 6, 10, plus 2, 12, plus 6, 18, plus 2, 20, plus 8, 28. So, atomic number is 28. Find the block period and group. What will be the block here? I know the last electron has entered my D subshell, so it belongs to my D block. So, it's a D block element. How do I find out my period now? Highest shell number. Now this is my highest shell number 4. So it belongs to my 4th period. Now for D block elements, how do we find out the group? The S and D subshell, the electron present in the S and D subshell, when you add, you will get the group. So it is 2 plus 8, 10. So it belongs to my 10th group. Understood, children? This is how we have to do the questions. So I hope you are able to follow, children. You will be getting similar questions like this for your homework as well, right? Try to do it. The more you solve, the more we will get thorough, right? And if you have, when we are doing, we make mistakes, check one more time when you're writing the configuration, when you're finding out the group, block and period, recheck again and again, cross check whether it is getting synchronized, it is getting matched with my atomic number, then you proceed. Okay, so as of children, I hope you are now understand, you have just understood the first chapter thoroughly, and most probably I'll be giving you questions then and there, so that we don't get a long gap between the first chapter after the chapter gets completed, right? So don't waste your time, be on with the syllabus, be on with the virtual classes that are happening. At the same time, take care of your health, be energetic, drink lot of water, because though it's rainy season, we won't feel thirst. Water is very important. Frequently drink water, have some sort of activities, walk around, play indoor games or even outdoor games if it is possible. Keep your mind always active, stay safe, right? Thank you children. Until then, we meet in the next class. Okay? Take care, bye. Thank you Febin and Kirti. That was a wonderful explanation. The next time can be yours children, so get ready. Now we shall see what we have learned in today's class. D block elements are called transition metals. It starts from 3rd group to 12th group. To find the group, we need to add the electrons in the outermost S and D subshell. Properties: they show variable oxidation state, they form colored compounds, and they act as catalyst. Now transition metal shows variable oxidation state because of the small energy difference between S and D. So S and D orbitals take part in the chemical reaction. F block elements are 6th and 7th period. 6th period are lanthanoids and 7th are actinoids. Properties: they act as catalysts, they are radioactive and artificial elements, they show variable oxidation state and are used as fuels. Now children, I have given you 5 questions as homework. Kindly do your homework in your file, chemistry file, because you will be called to check the homework. So, and if you have any doubt while you are doing the homework, please call me and clarify your doubts. I hope you all have understood the first chapter. Anyway, we will be doing the recap of the whole chapter in the next class. Thank you children. Take care. See you in the next class.